Here's your Jamaica national tip for this week. Did you know that your friends and family may give you the best contributions to your wedding and ultimately your new lifestyle? Yes, carefully select a few good friends and family to participate in your wedding. This could save you lots of money while allowing your friends and family to give you a lasting, memorable gift of a lifetime. Do you think it's the role, or it can be the role, of the step-parent to discipline the child?
You know, it has to come in at some point, but I think everything has to be done in a gradual way, right? You don't just step in from day one and start saying, okay, you're grounded, and you're, you know, and these kinds of, I mean, other people are usually responsible for discipline. If your auntie, if your grandma, if your neighbor see you doing certain things, they say things to you. So then why can't the person in your home, right, say it to you as well? So if they're saying this, they're saying it out of your teacher, you know, disciplines you. If you are saying it then out of some other issues that are coming out, you know, because this person can't talk to you. Yet, if the neighbor said to you, you shouldn't be swearing or da-da-da, you probably wouldn't take it the same way, you know? So it's an underlying issue that needs to be addressed. So again, that gradual introduction of that individual is so important.
What about children that think the step-parent is trying to act like their real mom or their real dad?
That often happens when when it comes too soon. So I will see people who, you know, they'd never seen this person before, right? Or hardly saw this person, and all of a sudden this person was all up in the house, right? And doing this and doing that and telling them to do this and telling them to do that. And that's when I often hear that kind of issue about, you know, she's trying to be my mother. You're not my mother. You're not my father. You know, you don't speak to me. You don't da-da-da. That's when I think it happens. So that the bond has not been created for them to feel now like, okay, this person can speak to me.
Can you talk about the competition for affection between the parent on the outside and the step-parent for the child's affection?
I think, again, if it's in an ideal situation, it would be good for everybody to be on the same page, because then those kinds of discussions, again, solidarity, you know, because again, you can love your auntie who mothers you, you can love your grandma, you can love your teacher, and all these people have different roles in your life, right? And it doesn't mean, and it never does mean, that it lessens the love that you have for your biological mother, for example, right? So that never changes that. So even if this child's has expanded his or her love triangle, square, whatever, you know, that this is now to include a stepmother, it doesn't mean at all that this lessens the love that this child has for you. This person is just supporting your role and not trying to replace you. They cannot. How can they? How can one person replace another person? It can't happen, you know?
No, kids don't have to, do you believe this? That kids don't have to love their new step-parent, but just be respectful. Do you believe that?
I do believe that, especially in the beginning, because if I am just coming into the picture, how you gonna love me? You don't have any history, you don't have anything to put, you know, you don't have no bonding has taken place yet, you know? Maybe you saw me a few times, I don't know. You know, whatever the dynamic is, it takes time, you know? It took time for that initial, that step-parent and parent. It took time, you know, for all of these things, you know? So it's gonna take time as well for that to grow. So as long as you start with that base, you know, of respect, and that it will grow from there, you know, definitely.
But that's the thing, tolerating someone and being respectful, sometimes, how do they do it when they don't like you? They just see you and they just don't like you. They just dislike you on the spot.
Yeah, and that usually comes from the underlying stuff that's there, you know, so usually the issue that surrounds it. So I'm thinking of a case right now, you know, and, of a young girl. She's a stepchild, you know, and when the father brought in her mother had passed, and the other person came in very quickly, right? And so there was no transition, right? There was none at all. And from the beginning, that may have been maybe 10 years ago, you know, and up to this day, no love for that step-parent, none whatsoever.
So here's a hard one. Should we expect our partner to feel the same about their children as we do?
That's not gonna happen overnight. It's the same way that the love that you feel is different for your niece or your nephew versus your biological children or your next door neighbor's children, who you may all love. Yes. Right? You know, again, love is expansive, and it's different for everybody, but it can't be stopped, you know, right. And it can't be cut and limited and all of that. So you love everybody differently. Even in your own children, right. You will love them each differently. It's a process. Absolutely. Yes.
When do you think is a good time for counseling?
When you see some of the things you've mentioned earlier, you see a lot of the disrespect, you know, rudeness, you may see withdrawal. You may see them crying easily. You may see or you may hear that they don't want to come over to the house, right? Or that they don't, if they're living with you, that they don't want to live with you anymore, or that they are being defiant. You know, many different signs that you see of behavior that you typically don't understand this child to behave like, you know. So you came into the picture and they were already defiant and rude, and they were having problems before you came into the picture. That may not be a sign that you were the changing. Not that it may not be a factor now that continues to exacerbate the situation and or that particular child's issues, but it's certainly, these are certainly signs that you look for, you know, that that something is going on. And the communication, I cannot underscore, between the biological parents is so important. I'm thinking of another case where I find that the children live with the outside parent and they come to the step parent and biological father's home, you know, ever so often. And the biological parent and the step parent home is not aware that the children don't want to come, right? Oh. So they don't want to come. Mom tends to kind of make maybe some kind of, you know, says things and just makes maybe little excuses and so on when they don't want to come. But the communication between the two are very poor. So therefore, they're not really aware. Each other is not aware of what they're feeling. Whereas this family over here feels like when the kids are over there, they have the best time. They love it. They love to come when the children are reflecting something completely different at the other end of the home. So that also shows their own level of confusion, the children, right. And pleasing, because that's a big thing. Wanting to please both parents, right? So you're at one home and you are feeling good and all of that, but when you go to the next home now and the parent is asking you, so how are things and everything all right? I don't like it, I don't want to go back and all of that, because you think that is what that parent wants to hear, you know? Yes. And that happens a lot, right? And because usually the communication is so poor between the two parents, somebody don't want to talk to somebody in there always, you know, then they are not reading each other's signals and they hear these things and they're like, see, they don't even want to go over to that person's house. And this one over here saying, and she keeping them from me. And nothing like that is happening, right? But it's because of how the children are feeling, and they are really feeling confused and really want to make everybody happy. They often get into that little, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And they say different things as a result. Not an obvious attempt to say, okay, let me lie to this one and lie to that one, but genuinely feeling tug of war with their feelings. How do I please daddy and please mommy at the same time when they both want two different things? Mommy feel good if I say I don't want to go to daddy. Daddy feel good if I say I'm having a good time there, and all of this, you know, so it's tough.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kai. All it really boils down to is teamwork and getting everybody on board to assess the situation and agree to a plan to fix it.
On the other side, we meet super stepmom Carla Dunbar.